Wednesday, everyone. So excited. I'm back with you to talk more marketing, with some fabulous entrepreneurs. Andrea Holyfield, my expert today. We're going to talk to you. She's a LinkedIn expert, and she's going to kind of give you a little bit of everything that she does, but a LinkedIn expert. We're going to be talking about branding and what does reinvention look like for you for 2022. We've had some great conversations in the past with some other women entrepreneurs, but I always want to keep it fun, keep it light. And it's 6:30 on the East Coast time. So we've had a busy day, but we're still going to bring you fun because that's what I love to do is bring fun, bring education around marketing. I also just wanted to mention before we jump into our conversation that I'm doing a 3-day free training. It's called Your Bragtastic. We're going to help women entrepreneurs use their voice, teach you how to brag in a really supportive, comfortable way. Starts tomorrow. So if you haven't joined, make sure you join. It's tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, completely free. I just want more women to use their voice, be heard, be seen. And that's what all these lives are about. So enough about our bragtastic bragathon that's going to happen. That's going to be so much fun. Let's jump in with Andrea Holyfield. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm super excited. So I talked to Andrea last week a little bit just about her business, what she does, how she just gives such great, I'm going to say, advice, mentorship, expertise to her clients. And we were talking about it's going to be 2022. And what does that mean for you as an individual, as an entrepreneur? And there's so many people who are in transition. So what does that mean as we go into a new year on how to reinvent yourself, how to really reinvigorate your brand, who you are? Because I find I'm in marketing, been in marketing for 15 years. And even though you have a solid brand, you always got to reinvigorate it because honestly, there's competition all over the place. You have to stay top of mind for your clients or your prospects. So I'm going to introduce Andrea. So welcome. And just tell me a little bit about you, a fun fact, and then tell me about your business, what you love to do.
Fun fact. So a fun fact about me is that I am a middle child. My oldest sister's name is Angela, and my youngest sister's name is Adrienne, and I'm Andrea in the middle. And so growing up with all the A's, my mother never pronounced my name correctly, any of our names correctly. She kind of just looked at you and you knew who she was talking to. And so whenever I start a new conversation, people are like, how do you pronounce your name? Is it Andrea, Andrea? And I'm just like, as long as you're looking at me, we're having a conversation. So I always like to start there with a little bit of, who I am and where I come from. So that would be my fun fact for the evening.
I like that fun fact. So Andrea, so I always think it's important too, as you say that, and we didn't plan about this, right? But I have some friends, and we talk about claiming their space and claiming their name and having people really address them for who they are and what they want to, be called. Then it's cool because I have a bajillion nicknames and people call me all different things. So I'm just curious about does that impact you? Do you feel that if you ask somebody to state your name a different way, does that feel differently for you in terms of kind of claiming your space? Have you ever thought about that?
No, and probably because of that family situation that I kind of grew up laughing it off. We would look at each other and laugh because who's mom talking to today, right? So no, but my friends call me Drea, and people that are close to me call me Drea, and that's pretty difficult to mess up. So, so I don't get it very often. The Drea piece, and then I'm a Holyfield on top of that. So, I get I used to get a lot of jokes with the last name, not as much anymore, but I used to get a lot of jokes with the last name. So no, I don't really have name issues. Like I said, if you're looking at me, I know we're having a conversation.
Awesome. So I'm going to look at you. Okay. I might call you Drea sometimes. Yeah, we'll see how it rolls.
That works.
Yeah, but thanks for being flexible. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about your business. When I saw what you did, I loved it. And it was funny. The first thing I said is like, I love your brand. And then you told me like you were talking about brand and revitalizing that and reinvigorating that. So I was like, yeah, she's the expert because literally your brand, from my perspective, your branding is on point. I love
Thank
your
you.
colors. I love the feel. Like
Thank you.
brand for me gives so many different it's the subtleties of a brand are important.
Mhm.
And the subtleties of your brand just makes me feel very comfortable and soothing. So I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, a little bit about the business. I started this company in 2020. This is my second time out in the world as an entrepreneur. And I actually turned in my resignation in February of 2020, not knowing that everything was about to hit the fan. And come March, when it was time for me to walk out the door, we would be in the beginning of a global pandemic, and definitely had some fear around what that was going to look like. But what's been amazing so far, throughout 2020 and now 2021, it's just that I've had the pleasure of working with so many phenomenal men and women. I primarily work with women, but so many phenomenal men and women who are thinking about transition and change, and who are wondering, like, how do I navigate where we are in the world today, and what do I want my world to look like? And that is my business. So my background is in career coaching, and so I've done career development, career management, career transition, anything in that career space.
Okay.
And the business is a little different because it's a bit more holistic. And I work with the whole person in this business. So there's a little bit of a difference in how someone may have worked with me in 2019 or 2018 and how they work with me now.
I love that you said you look at it as a holistic person because that's how I typically do my consulting and my coaching, right? We have to look at someone from who they are. And I look at it as a spectrum, like almost a circle, mind, body, and soul. But within that mind, body, and soul, there's so many different areas, right?
Yes.
So, especially from a career perspective, like
Yes.
what does success look like for so many different people? Like success looks different for so many different people. Some it's like the financial, some it's like the freedom, time freedom. Some it's spending more time with quality time with friends and family, right? And so you have to understand who you are as a person
Mhm.
and who are you as a whole in
Mhm.
order to successfully transition from one career
Agreed.
to the next. And people and I just feel like in our environment, we don't look at the person as a whole. So I'm super happy that you do that as well.
Yeah, I'm happy that I do that too. I think my clients are happy that I that I do that too, right? Definitely, I find that you can teach a person how to interview, you can teach a person how to write a resume, but if they don't know themselves, if they haven't had time to process their values, if they don't have a clear picture of what success looks like for them as an individual, not like what does my family think success is or what does society think success is, then they're constantly running from themselves. They're not leaving a job because they're running towards something. They're leaving a job because they're running away from something. And
Mhm.
so you really have to do that holistic work so that they can really find happiness.
Yeah, I love that. And I find that's the same thing as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
And you said like you have to be running to something, not running away from something. And a lot, and for me as an entrepreneur doing this for a couple years, like one of the things I love about being an entrepreneur is that I get smacked around all the time. I fall on my face and I have to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
And nobody likes that, but I mean that's the truth. And I feel that in this world, like we a lot of people just like make it look so pretty and so fun and this is amazing and I've done this, but no one talks about like the real struggle and the real growth that you're going to have to do in order to sustain a business, keep a business going. And I've worked with businesses for many years, and that's always a constant struggle. But it's about solution solving solutions and just
Hmm.
knowing that you can um, get over any hurdle that you
Absolutely.
encounter.
Yeah, my most recent, not my most recent, but one of my recent Instagram posts. I'm Andrea.Holyfield on Instagram. And one of my most recent Instagram posts was me talking about my future self and how she has scars and how, people talk about the fact that, life is beautiful and, building this business is great and you see the glamour, but like, in the future, in order to make it to be the successful me, I'm going to fall again and I'm going to bump my head and I'm going to maybe make a bad investment. Like that's part of the process. And you have to be open to all of it, the good and the bad.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because one of my things is working with, I work right now with medium-sized businesses, which they've kind of gone through those growing pain years in the beginning. So they're
Mhm.
more stable, they're more not stable, but more comfortable of where they're
Mhm.
at. And they understand those challenges. But now I'm
Mhm.
starting to work more with solo entrepreneurs and younger businesses. And that's a big stumbling block, and if you don't understand who you are, it's very easy to think it's not going to work. And then also, if you don't have the support system, it's very easy to think it's not going to work, which I love is because I always create a very supportive system. And I love to network. Like, right, we met through the oh my god, the not institute, I'm thinking of something else, the Cornell education program for women
Mhm.
entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
So I think if you're doing a business, know that there's going to be good, there's going to be bad, but make sure you have that support system that's
Yes.
always going to keep pushing you forward and giving you
Abs-
ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So talking about ideas, so if somebody's going into 2021, I think there's like 11 days, 10 days, I don't know how many days left in the year, and they're like, I am stressed and I need to do something different, whether it's in my business or my career, you name it. What are like 3 tips that you can give them?
So one of the best pieces of advice that I can give someone who is experiencing end of the year stress or anxiety about starting the year or overwhelm about all of the things that they are contemplating doing is to just stop and be still for a moment. Like there's so much going on and there's so much going through your head. And sometimes the best thing that we can do is nothing, like
Mhm.
really just pausing for a moment to give yourself a bit of grace, understanding that, yes, we're prepping for 2022 and a lot of us haven't processed the trauma from 2020 yet. And so the fact that you are here is a beautiful thing. Remind yourself that you have survived 100% of everything that you've been through, so you are a survivor, and just pause and like be in that moment and give yourself that grace. And then from a fresh space, then the second step would be to think about what you'd like to see happen next. And New Year's, birthdays, quarters, they give us like this fresh jumping off period where we start thinking about, okay, well now I can change. And really we could do this at any time, right? We could decide December 15th that we're going to make some sort of transition. But if you want to use January 1st as your period, then that's fine. But what is it really that you want? And there are tons of activities that can help you get to that, starting with visualization or meditation, but really gaining some clarity on what it is that you want. And then the third step would be to actually create some actionable goals, instead of saying huge things like, this is my year. Now I'm going to, I'm going to have a huge business, or now I'm going to, whatever that thing is, really breaking it down into something actionable. Those are the 3 steps in the process. And each of those steps has little smaller steps, but that's the recipe.
I love it. I love that the first thing was just to pause. And you said it so beautifully where you're getting ready for 2022, but you may not have even processed 2020. And then you almost made me cry.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry.
No, it's okay, but that's what it's about, right? Because you know, we're in a culture that's always going and going and
Yes.
going, and so much has happened for so many people these past couple of years, and we're always on that survivor mode. And what I feel is a lot of times people don't want to pause because they don't want to deal with like the emotions that are gonna come up.
Mhm.
But what is interesting is when you pause, you really get clear on what you want, right? It's not what your friends want, your family wants. Like when you get really quiet for a bit and don't
Mm-hmm.
have these outside influences, you start to understand like, okay, this is what I really want. And then you were like, okay, did you say create a plan? You're
Yeah,
great.
some
Create a
actionable
plan
steps once you've.
and actionable steps and make
Mm-hmm.
them small.
Yep.
And that's what I love because I know a lot of people do these like big action steps. I'm going to make $100,000 in 1 week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're making $10 in 1 week, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
That's
Not
right.
that it's not possible, because I believe anything is possible. I'm a like extreme optimist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but make it tangible for you, but also make it enough of a stretch that you're going towards something, which is
Yeah,
great.
and then we get into those things like belief system. To your point, don't set the goal at $100,000 in a week if you don't believe that, because the brain operates off of evidence, and what you are now doing is providing your brain more evidence that it's not possible for you to make the $100,000, which just makes it harder for you to do that down the road. So, start with a level that you said that's just a bit of a stretch for you, but you believe it for yourself, instead of setting this crazy wild goal that you don't believe in. And I see that a lot myself.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the wins because I know when I do make goals that are I don't wanna say achievable, but when I make goals um, that are not those big, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Big, like, unachievable goals in a
Yeah.
short time frame. Like you
Hmm.
said, I just get discouraged,
Yep.
and when I make something that I know is a little bit easier, then I'm like, "Oh, I could do this," and then it just builds upon the wins build upon each other.
That's right.
So that's great. So tell me, like, how long have you? So you said this is your second time as an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, you've been doing this since the beginning of COVID. What are some of the insights? I mean, well, first of all, I want to commend you for not freaking out and keep on going, right? Because you could have totally just been like, "This is not the right time to do my business." So kudos to you. What a warrior for keep on going. And then second of all, just curious, like what are your clients saying about transitioning in this time frame? Like what's their biggest obstacles and how do you help them be like, nah, I got this?
Yeah. So, um, I have probably two different extreme sets of clients. One is more of this is something that I'm exploring, and I just want to have an opportunity to explore this with you. And this is like something that I want to plan for down the road. And then the other is I need to make a change in 90 days, 120 days, like, that piece. And
Hmm.
I'm finding that both sets of the clients have success. It's just that we're doing transition just a little bit different. It just looks a little bit different. Hiring looks different. Interviewing looks different. Um, Things look a little bit different. What's great is that for my clients that are a little networking adverse, or that's not their favorite thing, I kind of feel like COVID has leveled the playing field for so many of us, because you're not really expected to be out working a room. You're not expected to be out at the 300-person event, meet market networking right now. You can hop on LinkedIn and you can use some of these other tools that are kind of more in your space. So I feel like COVID has leveled the playing field, but it's also allowed for more time to be home for reflection for a lot of people, not everyone, but for more time to kind of be home and reflecting and thinking about values and thinking about your family in a way that maybe you hadn't had the opportunity to do a couple of years ago.
Awesome. And then I was thinking too, you were talking about like COVID's level the playing fields. You have
Mhm.
more opportunity to go on LinkedIn and do networking. And you're also a LinkedIn expert. So curious to how do you help those people who are shy and timid or don't know about LinkedIn? Like what are some tips that you give them to use the platform, because I've just been honestly using the platform now for a couple of months and I'm in love with it. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is awesome, right? But it could be intimidating at times. So I'm just curious, like, how do you work with your clients doing that?
One of the most important lessons about LinkedIn is that it's not a job search tool. It can be used for job search, but really it's your own personal branding and marketing opportunity. And so if you're using LinkedIn, even as an employee, as an entrepreneur, if you're using LinkedIn with that mindset that here's my opportunity to brag about myself, like your event, like you're teaching people to brag about themselves, right? To show that I'm a thought leader, to create a strong brand. If you're thinking about LinkedIn like that, then there's an ongoing opportunity to use this tool to heighten your opportunities and to make connections with other professionals. I think sometimes people use LinkedIn in a very anxious kind of way, like, okay, I need a job, so I'm going to hop on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
that does make it a bit more difficult to navigate. But if you're really thinking about it with intention at all times, it can be a very powerful tool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said it takes time, right? Anything takes time. Building your brand takes time. What I
Yes.
love for LinkedIn is if you're an organization and you're looking to build your brand, it's a great place to do research. I mean, there's the poll feature. What I've been using is to ask questions and really see what people are thinking. That
Hmm.
could help build your brand. People's thoughts are changing day to day, especially with the climate of COVID. Your clients' needs may be changing.
Hmm.
So use the tool to your advantage.
Absolutely. And one of the positives that came out of the pandemic is that we were on our laptops and our computers and our iPhones, and we were on our devices more. So we were using LinkedIn, and because we were looking for a connection, I think it took a little bit of that edge off where people kind of felt like you had to be so super formal on LinkedIn, and they didn't know how to be if they weren't being really formal. But now you see people posting pictures with their pet in the background saying, this is my work buddy. Or I've seen a trend where people will share things about what it's like working from home, their home office environment. There's just a little bit more room to be human on the tool, which I'm enjoying. I mean, I do want it to stay professional, but I think that we have this idea of what professional is, and it's this really stern, stuffy, chin up, shoulders back culture, and that's not realistic for a lot of us. So I like that LinkedIn is kind of it is changing with the times.
Yeah, I like that you can show more of an authentic self,
Mhm.
but still be professional. And I think as you build your brand, especially if you're looking for a career, like, you want to be mindful of that. People still want to be mindful of what is authentic but professional.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a great conversation, because I do feel like I see LinkedIn as more pictures now, more videos. I'm big on video content, but it is taking a different direction, I find. And I also know that LinkedIn is like trying to put some more different resources in the future, in terms of almost feeling like a clubhouse type of vibe,
Yeah.
more
Hmm.
live features. So it's interesting. Things keep on changing, but as a business, as an entrepreneur, you have to be with the changes.
That's
So I
right.
think also when you jump on LinkedIn, you're seeing what are the changes in business. And you can see that from a branding perspective and a lot of different people, that brands are changing. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, make sure you focus on your brand.
Absolutely. And branding is just what I always tell my clients is that you are always branding, either intentionally or unintentionally, right? And so you have this brand that is kind of scattered and uninvolved or unevolved. Or you have an intentional brand where you are controlling the narrative and you are thinking about what you want to demonstrate to your connections. And I think the latter is where most of us want to be. We can't just hide our head in the sand and say, okay, well, I'm not going to use LinkedIn. I don't care about this. I'm not branding. You are. you are branding. So it's
Yeah.
just really important that you use the tools that you have.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to talk a little bit because I talk about like women bringing pleasure into business. But before I do that, because that could go any place,
Okay.
um, before I do that, are there any talking points that you wanted to cover and in regards to your business or any points that you wanted to tell your viewers about anything, branding, reinvention, reinvigorating?
Well, I will mention at this point, since you've opened the door, thank you very much. I'll walk in. I will mention that one of the resources that I provide under the Wealthy Well Woman brand is called a LinkedIn Health Check. And the LinkedIn Health Check allows for a professional who has thought about their goals, like, what is it that I want to see evolve in my brand, or what do I want to attract professionally? They provide those goals, and I literally provide a section by section audit of their LinkedIn profile and activity to give them some idea of where they need to consider pivoting, strengthening, or stopping um, with their LinkedIn activity and their LinkedIn brand. So if that's something that anyone would find of interest, I'd be happy to talk to people about what's involved with the LinkedIn health check.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit more? Do they like fill out a survey and then chat with you? Because I know people want this. So,
They do. They do.
okay.
So they fill out a survey. We have like a little pre-conversation. They fill out a survey so that I can get a better understanding of what their goals are and what challenges they are currently experiencing. Someone might say, "Well, I'm not getting any recruiter hits, and my colleagues are telling me that recruiters are reaching out to them, or I'm trying to pivot into this new area professionally, but all of my information says this, and I just need some help with this brand, and how do I develop this in the new career space?" Or whatever their issue is. And so they provide that information via survey, and then they receive their audit. They have some time to review the audit, and then we connect again on any questions that they have when it comes to execution. Because I find that what happens sometimes is we get this list of things, and it's like, okay, you need to do A, B, and C. But then if I still don't know how to execute, then this has really done me no good. So they do get some coaching around executing those deliverables.
Awesome. So if you send me the link, I will, with the replay, drop the link to that so people
Okay.
could make sure that they reach out to you.
Will do. Thanks.
All right. All right. So now my favorite thing, because I love marketing, but I also, one of the things that I'm doing is bringing light to women in business and how women do business differently. And then also how to bring in pleasure, joy, excitement into your daily life. Because what I find is if you're not doing that, then you're going to experience burnout, frustration, anger. And what's the point, right? Like we go into business, everyone goes into business for different reasons, but like you want to enjoy life. At
Right.
the end of the day, for me, life is short. We never know what tomorrow brings. And if
That's
COVID has
right.
taught me one thing, it's definitely taught me that.
That's right.
Because I was a big planner and then didn't plan for COVID. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm just curious, and I also talk about a mind, body, soul perspective. So how do you keep yourself like happy or engaged, or how do you bring pleasure into your business and into your everyday life?
Oh, so yeah, we could have an entire conversation just about this piece alone, but some tangible ways that I talk about this topic is one, to think about the world of work both collectively and individually. So collectively, we can talk about your strengths and what you want to bring to the company and how your values align with the organization or with your business, or we can think strategic planning, and we can have that collective conversation about how you are a part of something bigger. And that's helpful in a lot of ways to people that value being a part of something bigger. But an area where I see a lot of women not really focusing is on the individual and their individual why. Why this job, ma'am? Like, why this business now, sis? Like, why? What's your why? Because once we can tap into the why, then that helps to fuel the times when we're not super happy. I mean, business has its ebbs and flows. I love what I do, but I get tired sometimes, or I don't want to do. I don't want to meet with my accountant. I don't want to talk about the financials. Like I just, there are things that I don't love about it. But if I remember my why, it helps me to find joy in those moments where I'm not super happy. So I think that individual piece is very important. We're often, as women, told to kind of sacrifice self and think about the big picture, and that's not healthy long term. So that's a big piece. But then the other part is this holistic stuff that you and I have been talking about, right? Making sure that we're not just so focused on work that we're not thinking about the other aspects of ourselves. Like, are we healthy? Are we emotionally healthy? Are we physically healthy? Am I taking time out for self-care? I'm a huge advocate of self-care. I talk to my clients about water a lot,
Mhm.
bathing, drinking water, like being in water and around water. I think water is very helpful in keeping our spirits lifted. So, kind of thinking about all of those things. And I feel like I've been talking forever, so I'm going to pause.
No, no, I love it. I love it because literally before you started talking, I was like self-care, right? Because self-care for me is so important. And a lot of people that I work with, I am an advocate for self-care. They're like, I'm like, okay, so what's your list of 10 things that you have to do this week or 3 things that you have to do today? And if
Mhm.
self-care is not one of them, I'm like, okay, where are we putting self-care in? I don't care what needs to go. And people are like, but that's selfish. I have my family, I have my friends. I was like, if you can't keep on going every day, guess what? You can't help your friends, you can't help your family. So what's your self-care? Like,
That's right.
is it taking 30 minutes to go for a walk outside in movement?
That's
Is
right.
it meditation in the morning? Is it just saying, I need to get away? Like, I need some silent time. What is it that's going to be that self-care? And it's been a journey for me. So I can tell people I'm not doing that, but creating boundaries is part of my self-care ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important, and I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about more. Women need to experience that more. And then when they see it, they're like, oh my God, this is great. And then they should spread the word to other people.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can't find, I mean, 30 minutes per week is really still a ripoff. But but let's start there. If you can't find 30 minutes per week to take care of yourself, then it is very difficult for you to advocate for others to care about your needs, your values, and your wants. And so when you start to run into, I'm feeling neglected at home, I'm feeling ignored at work, we got to look at who the common denominator is in all of these scenarios and look for opportunities to model how we want to be treated and how we want to be cared for. And so, caring for myself lets my partner know that, oh, okay, this is what she requires. And it's extremely important for all of those other areas of well-being.
Yeah, awesome. Is there any favorite like indulgence that you like that gives you like that happy feeling?
Well, I am definitely a spa girl. I love my spa days. But I will tell you that I'm also a gardener, and having my hand in dirt and soil and like helping something to grow is extremely gratifying. I enjoy that. I have tons of house plants. A couple of them aren't doing so good right now, but that's another story. And then I will prescribe baths for some of my clients. Like, I will literally say, based on their mood, their emotion, their feeling, like, here are some colors that you need. Here are the color candles. Here are the scents that you need. Like, let's indulge in a luxury experience just right at home for 30 minutes in a
Yeah.
week. It doesn't have to be a $300, spa experience. You can spend a couple of bucks and be home with the door closed and the candles lit and enjoy yourself in that way.
Yeah, and I would add Epsom salt to that bath
Mhm.
because that's awesome. And then sometimes rose petals. You just go
Mhm.
all out.
Oh yes, honey. We can get into the oils and the salts and Milk. You can put
Yeah,
milk
I
in the
guess.
bath. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many things that you can do to make that a beautiful experience, and it becomes something that you can like challenge yourself to. What do I want to feel this week? And what do I need to add that allows me to go there? So yeah, I love, like I said, anything water related, being outside. One of the things that I have found is that a lot of us don't spend any time with anything that's real or nature related anymore. Like we're indoors all the time, we're breathing recycled air, we're looking at our laptops, our devices all the time. Our eyes are not seeing anything real. We're walking around with rubber soles on our shoes. We don't touch anything real. So, and now with COVID, like we really don't touch anything. We got our mask, so really being intentional about just getting outside, sitting outside on the deck and breathing, and just and feeling the wind and looking at the sun or looking at the moon. Maybe don't look at the sun for too long, but you get what I mean about just being in nature can be very
Totally.
beneficial for us.
I totally agree. And those are like some of my luxuries that I do. Going outside. I try to even if it's cold, I'll take off my shoes if I have like a small plot of grass and put my
Hmm.
feet on it. It's called grounding. It's really
Yes.
good. It's good cleanser for you. It reconnects you. So doing things like that is so, so important. And I
Yes.
just love asking everybody on my show that because I want people to know that there are things that we can do that don't cost a bajillion dollars. And that really will put yourself first. And what that does for you is it makes you feel amazing. It makes you feel good. And that spills over into your career, that spills
Absolutely.
over into your family. So if you're feeling like cranky, annoyed, that's also going to spill over into your career. That's also going to spill over into your family. So take the time to invest in you because that's going to increase your profitability and wherever you're at.
I love that. I love that you said take the time to invest in you in the same sentence of things that spill over into your family, because sometimes for a mom that's what we need to hear. Like sometimes thinking about doing something for ourselves is a no-no, but when we start to think about how it's affecting the rest of the family, then we're like, oh, okay, well, let me put my oxygen mask on first so that I can take care of my family. That's not my first instinct. My
Yeah.
first instinct is to make sure that everyone else is okay, but I need to understand kind of my place in on the totem pole to make sure that I can take care of my family.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, this was such a beautiful conversation. Anything else that you want to leave our guests with?
So I enjoyed the conversation as well. I can't wait to come back and talk to you because I just feel like you're going to invite me back. But but I will say that when it comes to branding and reinvention, it's just really important that we know that we can reinvent at any time. We really can decide at any point that we want to change directions, that we want to do something different. It's the decision. It's once that decision is made, then we can start to create the plan. But it's never too late, too early, too soon, to decide that you want to be who you're becoming.
I love it. I love it. And if you need help, if you're like, I need help, I want to change my career in 2022, start tomorrow. Call Andrea, text her, message her. Well, don't text her because you don't have your number. LinkedIn message her.
Message
Put
me,
a
yes.
comment underneath this and say, I need you, Andrea, because she's there to support you.
Absolutely.
We want to make not only 2022, but tomorrow and the rest of this year a fabulous year for you.
That's right.
So awesome. Thank you so much. I will definitely have you back and
Thank
we
you.
will just chat more about marketing and pleasure and happiness and joy and nature.
I love that.
Um, yes. And bring that conversation higher for more people to hear.
Yay. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed this, Emily.
Yes. All right, beautiful. Have a good one.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.